Hi folks, it's day 33 today. Um, Not much going on today again. I've spent most of the day just kind of resting my foot. Uh, Still quite a lot of pain, so I've made another appointment to my GP tomorrow to see if I can get stronger painkillers, or they've mentioned steroids, or something else that I can try, so hopefully that'll help. But yeah, today I guess I wanted, being kind of stuck, not being able to do much and having to keep my foot elevated. It gives you a lot of time to think, and when you're kind of going through depression or anxiety, that can be a bad thing sometimes, having too much time to think, because you do tend to think and overthink everything, every aspect of your life. And it can be hard to kind of draw that line and say, stop thinking about that now, or take a step back and ask yourself, like I've said before, is what I'm telling myself, is that true? Is there any truth? Is there any proof? Is there any evidence? Today I've been thinking a lot about social media, actually, so I've been meaning to do a video about it at some point, because I feel it's very important. And it's kind of become very important to my life, I guess. And yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about social media and how it's affected me, my experience of it. So yeah, social media is very powerful. It's a very powerful tool. It's a really good way of connecting, with people all over the world. It's a really powerful way of, spreading a message, or, getting kind of your view across of the world that you want to present to the world. It's a great way of keeping in touch with people. I've got friends all over the world who I've met during my travels, and if it wasn't for like Facebook and Twitter, I wouldn't really be in touch with them anymore, which would be a shame. But yeah, the fact that Facebook exists means I don't have to kind of, you know, I am still in touch with those people, and we do still talk to each other, and it's almost like I get a snapshot of their lives as they progressed since I last saw them, and it's brilliant when it's used correctly, and it's, like I said, it's a very, very, very powerful tool. Me doing these videos is a prime example. It's kind of like I'm posting videos on YouTube, people are watching them. I've got people watching them. I don't know like how many or whereabouts, but I'm reaching somebody out there somehow. And that could be a very powerful thing, which means also, it's a big responsibility as well, I guess. Because when you're doing stuff like what I'm doing, like a vlog, and when I've blogged and stuff about my mental health and my depression and my suicidal kind of ideation and my suicidal, when I was feeling suicidal, it's a lot of responsibility to kind of put that out there and, give it to the world almost, because you don't know exactly what frame of mind people are going to be in that are going to watch your videos or read your blogs. And yeah, it's like you don't want to be that thing that pushes someone closer to, a bad situation or makes them feel worse than they already do. All I ever want to do is kind of help. Primarily, I'm trying to help myself get out of this hole that I'm in. But yeah, secondary, I want to help as many people as I can to, just to let them know that depression's not the end of the world. It's not the end of their lives. But like I say, spreading that kind of message and some of the content that I've been putting in my videos, maybe it is triggering. I've talking a lot about suicide, and the last thing I want to do is be that trigger for someone to make them maybe think about things more than they should, or the only reason I bring these things up is because I think they're really important to talk about, and I always try and do it in a respectful and kind of responsible kind of way, so that I'm not being that trigger or making people think more about things that maybe they shouldn't be. I'm trying not to do that. That's not what I'm trying to do. And hopefully that's coming across, and hopefully people realise that. And yeah, and that brings me to another point about social media. As powerful a tool as it is, it does have kind of like another side to it. It can be quite a scary place for some people, because a lot of people, unfortunately, especially people who have mental health issues, who have struggled with social anxiety and things like that, they rely on kind of social media and the internet they live their lives through it, because they can't do it in reality. And I've been there myself, where I've had to rely on social media to communicate with people, because I just can't do it normally. That's how bad things can be sometimes. And yeah, unfortunately, as great as the internet is, and as great as social media is, as powerful a tool as it can be for connecting people and spreading messages, it can also, be a very scary place, because not everybody is nice in the world, unfortunately. We'd like to think the best of everyone. I do. But yeah, there's enough evidence out there to kind of suggest that not everybody is going to be nice on the internet. Not everybody's going to have your best interests at heart, unfortunately. There's a lot of kind of online bullying, there's a lot of trolling, and really horrible stuff. I mean, you read stories a lot now where, children like as young as 7, 8, 9, they're getting bullied online to the point where they are committing suicide, and that's just I just don't understand how that can be allowed to happen. That's a terrible situation. We shouldn't be like that. But as I say, there are people on the internet who, I think because it's not face to face and you don't have to deal with the person in person, it removes them kind of from an emotional kind of connection. So they don't view people as people. They're just online entities that they don't care about. They don't have feelings for them. So, you get a lot of people who take advantage of that, and just like, they specifically go online to kind of target people and, bully them, or, say horrible things about them and stuff like that. I mean, it happens all the time. It's a horrible side of it, and unfortunately, it's a really hard thing to police. I guess it's a really hard thing to kind of keep an eye on and control. And that's where the internet's greatest strength is also its greatest weakness. It's that everyone can access it, everyone can kind of manipulate it and do things on it that they maybe shouldn't be doing, but because it's the internet and because it's free for the world, it's hard to kind of clamp down on these situations. So yeah, it's a tough one. I think the internet's great. I think social media is fantastic, but I mean, I've had my moments where I've doubted what I'm doing. Like I say, I've always tried to just be positive and mindful of what I'm saying and what I'm doing online. But during my lowest periods, and I'm going to be honest here, I always want to be honest with you, whoever's watching this video or any of my videos. I always want to be as honest as I can, because what's the point in not being honest? This is why I'm here. It's what I'm trying to do. And I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say that, I've said it before, but primarily I'm doing these videos for myself, first and foremost, as a form of therapy. I've said that, so it's something it's a permanent record of something I can look at on a day-to-day basis and just see how I did feel, on days when I feel like I was depressed, and how depressed was I, and kind of gives me something to gauge. But again, as well as that, I want to reach people. I want to kind of send positive messages. I want to try and, help people who may be suffering with depression, like I am, who may go through suicidal ideation, who may, have really bad anxiety. Everything I do, it's kind of geared towards helping people ultimately. And that's like another kind of downside. I mean, it's not necessarily a downside, but when you're putting yourself out there in that way, there's nowhere to hide. So you are kind of laying yourself out there in the open, and it does make you vulnerable, and if you already suffer with kind of like, self-esteem, anxiety, depression, like doing that, it can kind of, you feel even more vulnerable. You feel like you're in a very vulnerable situation. And I mean, I'm being fortunate enough. I've never had any kind of terrible feedback on anything I've ever done. I've had a couple of people on one of my blogs, I think, or an article that I did for The Sun, kind of gave me a bit of stick about what I was talking about, but I've never let it kind of get to me. The only thing I would say is, and this is true for anyone who does this kind of thing, like vlogging or blogging, I think, and again, I mean, I can only talk about my own experience, and I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to say that part of me is doing this, to kind of, I don't know, part of me does want recognition, I guess. Part of me does want kind of validation that I'm doing something good, that I'm doing something useful, and I have value, and this is where my value is. I'm giving people a reason to like me, in a way, and that's just human nature, I think. Like, ultimately, we're tribal as a species. We want to fit in. We want to belong to a group. There's safety. There's comfort in belonging to a group. You don't want to be on your own. You don't, like, we're hardwired to be tribal, to seek acceptance and to seek approval from the people around us. We want people to say, like, we like you, you're good, like, be part of our group. That is just human nature, and I'd be doing you a disservice, to people who are watching these videos. I'd be doing myself a disservice if I wasn't open and honest about the fact that whenever I do a video, I am keeping an eye on, how many views it's had, if it gets any likes, if I get any comments. I am looking at those things, and I do get kind of like a little boost if I see that, I've had X amount of viewers, or I've got so many subscribers, or I've had a few likes or good positive comments and feedback. And at the same time, I get disheartened as well, because sometimes I don't get the reactions that I expect, or I'm not getting the views, I don't have the subscribers, I don't have like tens of thousands of subscribers like some people on the internet. There's some guys who, like, do videos about eating, washing powder capsule things, and they're getting millions of views, and I'm trying to do something I think is a little bit more serious than that. And I have 14 subscribers at the moment. I think I average about 10 views a video that I do, and it can be disheartening sometimes, and like I say, I'm just being honest. I want those figures, I want those numbers, I want to reach more people. And yeah, if I again, that's part of the downside of social media and the power that it can have. I think they've done scientific studies where they've proven that you get like a little endorphin boost every time you get a like or a comment on your status. And yeah, like that's what social media is. We're putting our lives out there for other people to be part of and to kind of interact with and hopefully take positives from and be nice to each other. Um, and for the most part, I think that's how it works. But again, like I say, there's the downside where people are deliberately kind of putting people down and bullying and trolling and being negative. Interestingly enough, when I was going through a suicidal phase and I was planning, it was more active suicidal ideation, like what I mentioned the other day. Um, I put a plan in place, and I wanted it to kind of ultimately I wanted it to work without as with as little amount of pain or suffering as possible. I wanted the best possible way of ending my life, essentially, because I don't like pain, I don't like suffering. I wanted it to be quick and painless. So I did a lot of research online, as you do, like Google's. You can find out how to do anything on Google, and I was appalled. But admittedly, at the time, I wasn't that appalled. I was more fascinated by the fact that there's a lot of stuff out there geared towards kind of advising people and giving people the knowledge and the tools they need to end their lives. And I look back now and I'm disgusted that that exists. I was going on kind of message boards and communities, whole communities, where people just go there to tell other people how to kill themselves. And, you know, at the time, that's exactly what I needed, or what I thought I needed, exactly what I wanted. So I didn't take much notice of the fact. All I cared about was that the knowledge and the information I needed was there. It's only looking back in retrospect and thinking to myself, how can those people live with themselves? Because they're actively encouraging, not just actively telling you how and what methods to use are best, but actively encouraging you to do it as well. And you got to think to yourself, what kind of person does that? And again, I think it's the whole. To them, you're not a person. You're just like somebody online. Somebody online doesn't exist. It's just a kind of nebulous presence to people. Like there's no connection there. There's no kind of, you don't view it as a person. You just view them as kind of like an online presence that doesn't matter. Doesn't ultimately their fate doesn't affect you. It's like you don't care. It becomes almost like you're playing a game. That's essentially what it felt like. Um, so yeah, I'm quite disturbed now thinking about that, thinking back to that those kind of things exist. Websites and forums and community message boards where you can just go and people will actively kind of help you end your life, and it's terrible. It really is. And that's kind of the dark side of the internet and social media and things like that. But ultimately, I like to view it as the positive thing that it can be. Um, and I've kind of reconciled myself to the idea that even if a single person watches a single video that I've done and it kind of gets some kind of knowledge or something to help them from anything that I ever do, that's enough. So yeah, um, but I'd be lying, like I say, I'm not gonna lie to you because it's not right. I'm not gonna lie. I do keep an eye on, the views and the subscribers, and it can be disheartening to not have the reach that you want to get to. But yeah, I'm not going to try and dwell on that because that's not the reason I'm doing this. It is nice to get feedback and get likes and get views. But like I say, I've reconciled myself to the idea that as long as anything that I've done, anybody can get something out of it, then it's got to be worth doing. Even if it's one person that I'm helping somewhere along the way. But yeah, I've rambled on a lot today. That's just my view on social media. I think it's an amazing thing that we have access to. Um, I find it fascinating that the next generation will never have known life without it. Whereas I grew up, like, you had to kind of talk to people in real life. You had to kind of, there was no text messaging, there was no WhatsApp, there was no Instagram, there was nothing like that. You just kind of had to live with, the people that were in your life. Generally, geographically, you couldn't like talk to people on the other side of the world without great difficulty. I mean, there was like, you could send letters. That's kind of a lost art, I think, that we've left behind. I think the next generation are going to wipe out the post office system. Like, no one's going to send letters anymore, if they ever do at the moment. But in and of itself, yeah, I mean, I think it's a great thing. It can be used to help a lot of people, and unfortunately, there is a dark side to it. But I think as long as we're careful and we know what we're doing, and we kind of like set our expectations for what's going on. And for anyone who is kind of watching this and they are scared, or they're being kind of bullied, or you kind of need to talk to someone about that, because it's not going to go away. These people, they kind of relish making other people suffer, and it's a terrible, horrible thing. And like I say, the internet and social media makes it so impersonal to them that it becomes so much easier, I think, for them to do it, from a moral standpoint. But yeah, it should never be acceptable, and I think for younger people especially, we need to kind of be more kind of screwed on about it. We need to keep an eye on what our kids are doing, online. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there for now. Hopefully I've gotten something across today, like a positive message. Social media is good. It can be bad, but, only if we let it be bad. And I'm certainly not encouraging, what I was mentioning before about those websites and things like that. I think they're terrible. I think that they should be taken down. They should be monitored somehow. And it's scary how close I came to, not being here right now because of a website like that kind of gave me a step-by-step guide to. That's not a good thing. Basically, that's what I'm saying. The fact that exists, and the fact that people can freely access it and freely kind of manipulate people into doing scary things like that. It's terrible. But generally speaking, it is an amazing thing in our lives. It connects us. We can kind of, spread messages of positivity and love and kindness. And I hope that's what most of us do. I'm rambling now, so yeah, I'm definitely going to leave it there. Apologies, I've gone on for so long, but obviously it's something I feel very passionately about, because I've seen kind of both sides of it. I see the positives, and I've seen like the really bad stuff, and that's not even the worst. What I've talked about. You've got like the dark web, which sounds horrendous. I'm not even going to touch that. But yeah, I'll leave it there for now. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Okay.